There comes a time in every life when the noise outside becomes so loud that the voice within is no longer heard. That, my friend, is the death of greatness. For no man can govern the world around him until he has first conquered the world within him. The man who chases results without first mastering his own reactions is like a ship with a broken rudder. He may move, but he drifts, and in the end, he will crash upon the rocks of his own chaos. You are not here to drift. You are not here to react. You are here to command, to rule over your own nature as a sovereign king of your inner kingdom. And if you are not that yet, then this message is your summons to the throne. There is a hidden law, ancient and immutable, written not in the books of man, but in the fibers of your own soul. It says, "He who remains still while others panic, he who sees clearly while others rage, he who controls himself while others lose themselves, that man will rise above all others. That man will walk through storms with dry feet. That man will become a pillar so unmoved by praise or insult that kings will seek his counsel, and fools will tremble in his presence without knowing why." The modern world will tell you to speak louder, move faster, chase harder, be bolder, but I tell you, go quiet. Let the silence do the work, because in silence the mind becomes sharp. In silence you hear the truth that noise conceals. In silence the real work begins, not the labor of the hand, but the dominion of the spirit. Let me speak now to the root of all power, the mind that obeys itself. You may think success is about action. You may believe discipline is about routine, but both are false if not built upon the bedrock of emotional detachment. What do I mean by that? I mean the sacred ability to feel without being ruled by feeling. I mean the spiritual maturity to let anger rise in your blood without letting it speak through your mouth. I mean the supreme control to watch your world shift and swirl, yet not be moved by it. He who cannot detach from the chaos cannot command it. And if you cannot command chaos, you cannot build anything that will last. The first lesson of the disciplined man is this: learn to separate your emotion from your action. For action that flows from reaction is weak, erratic, and impotent. But action that flows from stillness is deliberate, powerful, and final. This is the foundation of power, inner stillness. Not passivity, not apathy, but poised intensity like a lion watching the field. Like a king who does not flinch when threatened, because he knows the weight of his crown does not depend on the approval of the crowd. Understand this: if your emotions own your actions, your enemy already owns your outcome. A man is measured not by how he feels, but by how well he governs what he feels. This is the law of emotional detachment, and if you would rise to heights few have ever touched, you must master it. Not someday, not when life is easier, but now. In the heat, in the tension, in the fire of real life. You see, emotional detachment is not the suppression of feeling. It is the sublimation of feeling into purpose. It is the art of using what you feel, not being used by it. It is the difference between the man who yells at traffic and the man who builds roads. Let me be clear. There is no success without discipline, and there is no discipline without detachment. Think of the general who must make hard decisions in war. Does he let his sorrow rule his judgment? No. He uses it to sharpen his clarity. Think of the surgeon who must operate under pressure. Does he panic when blood flows? No. He breathes deeper, steadier, clearer. And think of the thinker, the philosopher, the creator. Does he react to every insult, every failure, every opinion of others? No. He retreats into silence. He watches. He chooses. He responds when ready, not before. This is the power of calmness. This is the authority of stillness. It is not weakness. It is not delay. It is the sword that waits before it strikes. It is the storm that builds before it breaks. And it is this inner poise that separates the ordinary from the unstoppable. You must become the master of your own atmosphere. Let others scream. Let others flinch. Let others panic. You go quiet, not because you are weak, but because you are calculating, because you are sharpening, because you understand what the masses do not, that silence is not absence, it is preparation. It is not retreat, it is regeneration. And when the time comes, your silence will speak louder than their noise ever could. I now give you the first principle of transformation, the law of mental neutrality. What is it? It is the conscious refusal to be owned by anything outside of your will. It is the posture of neutrality in the face of events. It does not mean indifference. It means the ability to see clearly, act calmly, and move decisively regardless of how others behave or how circumstances shift. Understand this law. He who is neutral owns the battlefield. He who reacts first loses his footing. You must become like the mountain unshaken by the wind, unbothered by the weather, unmoved by the noise. But how, you ask? Through autosuggestion, the principle that made kingdoms and destroyed them. You become what you repeatedly tell yourself. If you say, I cannot control my anger, you have trained yourself to be ruled by it. But if you say, I am calm, I am composed, I am the master of myself, you are reprogramming your inner world to obey you. Every time you speak, you are building something, either a prison or a palace. So guard your language, watch your self-talk, speak only what you are willing to become. Napoleon Hill once said, thoughts are things, but I say this, disciplined thoughts are weapons, and undisciplined thoughts are chains. You must choose your arsenal. You must choose your allegiance, because the moment you think a thought, it begins to shape your destiny. If you let the wrong thoughts live in your mind unchecked, you are no longer the thinker, you are the thought. And that, my friend, is the greatest slavery of all. Now, let us move deeper into the mind's machinery. Let us speak of the power of calmness. Calmness is not the absence of tension, it is mastery over tension. Calmness is not the result of an easy life. It is the result of an ordered mind. If you want peace, do not wish for the world to change, organize your thoughts. Clean your mental house. Eliminate the unnecessary. Remove the junk. Destroy the excuses. The calm man is not calm because life is easy. He is calm because his inner world is clean. And what clutters the mind more than anything else? Need. Need for approval, need for recognition, need for validation. All weakness begins with need, and all power begins with purpose. Therefore, the cure for emotional reactivity is not to suppress it, it is to replace it. Replace need with mission. Replace insecurity with clarity. Replace reactivity with responsibility. You must become a man or woman on a mission so consuming that your ego dissolves in service to it. And here lies the truth. The average man will never grasp. Emotional detachment is not coldness, it is commitment. It is the refusal to let momentary feelings interfere with long-term destiny. Let others cry about fairness. You focus on effectiveness. Let others drown in distraction. You hold your gaze on the goal. Because the man who controls himself is already more powerful than armies. Because the woman who governs her thoughts will rise higher than anyone who simply feels inspired. Because silence and not noise, where true plans are born. And now I ask you, are you ready to go quiet? Are you ready to withdraw from the battlefield of petty reactions and enter the throne room of mental dominion? Are you ready to become what others only pretend to be, unshakable, unmovable, unstoppable? If so, then prepare yourself, for I will now lead you deeper. Then silence your doubts, still your mind, and listen not merely with your ears, but with that sacred part of you which has waited years, perhaps lifetimes, to hear this truth. The principle of thought first. Before every deed, there was a decision. Before every war, a whisper. Before every empire, an idea. And before every transformation, a thought sharp, deliberate, commanding. Thought is not passive. Thought is not accidental. Thought is not weak. It is the first cause, the spark that ignites the furnace of action. And yet most people spend their lives reacting to thought rather than mastering it. The average man does not think. He remembers and he reacts. His mind is not a compass, but a weather vane. It shifts with moods, opinions, fears, and cravings. He is blown by the gusts of every circumstance. He is a puppet with strings pulled by his past, his habits, and his emotional confusion. But you are not here to be average. You are here to awaken the mind as master, to take the seat of power at the center of your consciousness and say, I will decide how I feel, I will decide how I think, I will decide how I act, And nothing, not people, not events, not my past will steal this throne from me. This is where power begins, not in wealth, not in fame, not in applause, but in the unseen realm where thoughts are born. If you own this space, the world becomes your servant. If you lose this space, you become a servant of the world. Thought first, always. You must not act until your thoughts are aligned. Do not speak until your words are purified. Do not build until your foundation is silent and steady. This is why I tell you to go quiet. Because in quietness, you can hear your mind. In quietness, you discover which thoughts are your sand, which were planted by others. In quietness, you expose the noise for what it is, a distraction from the truth of your being. Now hear me well, for this is no soft gospel I preach. It is the fire of inner dominion, and it demands of you the price of your former self. You cannot keep the life you have and also claim the life you want. You must trade it. And the currency of that trade is discipline. Let us now discuss self-discipline, the invisible architect of greatness. Self-discipline is not about denial. It is not about suffering. It is about sovereignty. It is the decision to govern your instincts, not be governed by them, to lead your body, not be led by it, to command your schedule, not be enslaved to it. Self-discipline is saying no to the impulse so you can say yes to the vision. It is saying no to distraction so you can say yes to destiny. It is saying no to comfort so you can say yes to character. And understand this, comfort is the silent killer of dreams. It does not come with horns, it does not shout, it whispers, it flatters. It invites you to relax just a little longer, to postpone just one more day, to respond just one more time emotionally before returning to logic. But comfort is a liar. Comfort promises peace but delivers regret. Discipline demands discomfort but rewards you with freedom. So choose wisely, the lie of ease or the truth of effort. Discipline is the bridge between the man you are and the man you were born to be. Discipline is the gatekeeper between the wish and the will. Discipline is the chain that binds your wandering instincts and focuses them like a laser on a single target. If you do not build discipline, you will build disappointment, not because you are not capable, but because you are not committed. Now, what is the engine of discipline? It is definiteness of purpose. A mind with no clear aim is easily invaded by fear. A life with no mission becomes a playground for doubt. A man with no destination becomes a vehicle for other men's agendas. But the moment you declare your purpose with unwavering certainty, a revolution begins within. Chaos starts to obey. Emotions begin to listen. Doubt loses its voice. The mind, now focused, becomes a force of nature, and every thought, every word, every action becomes a soldier in service to your goal. This is why you must go quiet, not to hide, but to declare. To go into the cave of silence and emerge with fire in your bones and lightning in your eyes. Purpose is not discovered through noise. It is forged in stillness. And once found, it becomes your law, your standard, your path. Now let us speak of one of the rarest traits among men and women today, the power to respond instead of react. Reaction is the habit of the weak. Response is the habit of the wise. When you react, you give your power to the world. When you respond, you give your power to your purpose. Reaction is fast, sloppy, loud, and ego-driven. Response is slow, calculated, quiet, and mission-driven. One leads to conflict, the other leads to conquest. If you truly desire success, not just the appearance of it, not just the trappings, but the real thing, then you must eliminate reaction from your character like a surgeon removing poison from a wound. You must say, I will not speak in anger, I will not act in fear, I will not decide in desperation, I will not fight battles that do not advance my vision. I will observe, I will assess, I will respond only when my highest self is in command. This is emotional maturity. This is spiritual intelligence. This is psychological leadership. And if you cannot govern your reactivity, you will forever be governed by lesser men who can. Let me now give you a rule so ancient, it was carved into the hearts of wise men long before books were written. He who angers you, conquers you. If your mood depends on another, you are a prisoner. If your energy rises and falls with approval, you are a puppet. If your peace is stolen by an insult, you are still in bondage. But if you go quiet, if you pull back from the emotional entanglement, if you observe without absorbing, then you rise, not just in stature but in soul, because you are no longer a slave to emotion, you are a steward of power. And this, my friend, is the highest form of wealth. Not money, not fame, but mastery over self. For what is the use of riches if your moods control you? What is the use of followers if one insult breaks your concentration? What is the use of a crown if you still seek the approval of peasants? You must rise above the realm of reaction. You must rise into the dominion of direction. You must go quiet not to retreat, but to reset. Because silence is not surrender. It is strategy. Silence is not weakness. It is warfare by other means. When you go quiet, you reclaim the throne of your mind. You say to the world, you may shout, you may judge, you may demand, but I will not be moved unless I move myself. And that, my friend, is the true mark of greatness, to choose your movement rather than be moved. Now take this deeply into your soul. Every time you resist reacting, you build a fortress. Every time you delay impulse, you strengthen your inner army. Every time you choose purpose over emotion, you are laying the bricks of an unshakable empire. Do not build your life on sand. Build it on stillness. Do not construct your destiny on emotion. Construct it on vision. Let your thoughts be your generals. Let your silence be your shield. Let your actions be your sword. And let your purpose, excellent, burning, unwavering, lead you into battle without fear. Because the man who has mastered himself has nothing left to fear. He has already won the greatest war within. There is a great illusion in the modern mind that outward change precedes inward change. That one must change their environment, their job, their partner, their bank account before they can change their emotions, their behavior, their discipline. But this is a lie. One of the oldest and deadliest lies ever sold. The truth is opposite. You must change your response before the world will change its reflection. The outer world is not the cause. It is the mirror. And the man who constantly seeks to rearrange the mirror without changing his own face is doomed to confusion and frustration forever. Mastery is internal first, always. You must be the first to move. You must be the first to become calm, even when others are chaotic. You must be the first to speak life when others speak fear. You must be the first to discipline yourself when no one else sees. And when you dowen, you hold the line internally, silently, consistently, then the world will begin to shape itself in your image. This is the principle behind all transformation, the law of inner cause and outer effect. Nothing appears in your life that did not first appear in your thoughts. Nothing grows in your reality that was not first planted in your beliefs. And nothing lasts in your results unless it is rooted in your identity. So I ask you now, not as a philosopher, but as a man who has stood at the crossroads of will and weakness, who are you when no one is watching? Who are you when you are not praised? Who are you when the room is silent and your thoughts echo back at you? For that is the man who rules your fate, not the man who performs, not the man who posts, not the man who is seen, but the man who governs himself in solitude, the man who endures in stillness, the man who disciplines in darkness. This is the man who becomes unstoppable. You must stop trying to appear strong and instead become strong in silence, because the world does not reward those who shout the loudest. It rewards those who endure the longest. And the secret to endurance is not found in motivation. It is found in mental structure. You must build an inner system so strong, so deliberate, so clear that no storm can shake it. And the structure begins with rules, laws that you write for yourself and never break. Let me give you a few examples of inner laws, the kind that create unshakable composure and unbreakable progress. I do not speak when angry. I do not decide in fear. I do not argue with fools. I do not chase what I have not defined. I do not react without thinking. I do not waste time explaining my mission to those who cannot understand it. These are not slogans. They are anchors. And without them, you will drift. Because life will pull at you with its chaos deadlines, distractions, disappointments, disagreements. Every day, someone or something will try to steal your focus, hijack your emotions, or bait you into battle. But if you live by law, not by feeling, you remain untouchable. And make no mistake, feeling is a tool, not a master. Use it to add depth to your purpose. Use it to energize your vision. But do not let it take the wheel. For the moment your feelings become your guide, you have handed over your future to chance, to mood, to the ever-changing weather of your soul. This is the crime of the undisciplined mind, trusting emotion over intention. And if you would escape the mediocrity that grips most men, you must commit this day not to being ruled by how you feel, but by what you know. You know your mission. You know your potential. You know what needs to be done. And if you know, then act. Even when you are tired. Even when you are insulted. Even when you are unseen. Even when the world is silent in its applause. Especially then. Because that is when kings are born, not on stages, but in solitude. Not in moments of recognition, but in moments of rejection. Not in triumph, but in trial. Do not wait for ideal conditions. They are a lie. Do not wait for the emotions to align. They are a wave. Build your discipline like a wall, brick by brick, day by day, thought by thought, and let no event, no feeling, no insult break it. This is how power is built, silently. Let us now turn to a concept few men have the strength to embody: strategic restraint. The weak man speaks too soon, acts too quickly, overreaches too often. He believes power is in expression. But the wise man knows power is in precision. He holds his tongue until it serves his purpose. He withholds his move until it serves his vision. He conserves his energy and therefore multiplies his impact. This is why silence terrifies the average man, because he equates silence with powerlessness. But the truth is, silence is proof of control. It is the patience of the predator. It is the composure of the king. It is the dignity of the man who does not beg to be seen because he has already seen himself. Go quiet not because you are afraid, but because you are focused. Because you are building something that shallow men cannot understand. Because you are preparing to strike with precision, not swing with desperation. Go quiet because you are no longer interested in attention. You are interested in achievement. An achievement is not a show, it is a strategy. Now let me give you a metaphor, one that will follow you all your life if you let it. The arrow must be pulled back before it is released forward. The bow must bend in silence before it sends its strike into destiny. You, in your discipline, in your stillness, in your restraint, are the arrow. And the tension you feel, the discipline you endure, the solitude you walk through, these are not delays. They are preparation. They are positioning you to be launched further than you ever imagined. But only if you do not flinch. Only if you do not speak too soon. Only if you go quiet long enough to aim with clarity and strike with force. And now I give you this command, a command not from me, but from that part of you that has waited long enough to rise. Train your mind until silence becomes your ally. Until discomfort becomes your fuel. Until rejection becomes irrelevant. Until emotions become whispers, not winds. Until people's opinions become noise, not truth. Until your inner world becomes so organized, so focused, so sovereign that you can walk through fire without flinching, face insult without reacting, and move forward without hesitation. Because success is not for the man who knows the most. It is for the man who masters himself the most. And the man who masters himself is the man who listens more than he speaks, watches more than he reveals, acts more than he announces. That man becomes a legend. That man becomes a force. That man becomes what the world respects but cannot understand. Because he did not shout his way to the top, he went quiet and let the silence do the work. You have now heard the call to detach, to discipline, to govern your world from the inside out. Now let us walk into the stronghold of the rarest treasure a man can possess, personal initiative. What is personal initiative? It is the quiet fire that says, I will begin, I will continue, I will finish regardless of who applauds, who assists, or who believes. It is the refusal to wait for permission. It is the self-generated fuel of giants. The man of personal initiative does not ask, who will help me? He declares, who can stop me? He does not linger in the waiting room of life, hoping opportunity knocks. He carves a door through the wall with his own hands and walks through it without asking. You must become this man. Because the world is overrun with dependents, people waiting for motivation, for guidance, for approval. But destiny does not answer the voice of dependency. It responds to movement, to momentum, to silent action executed with sharp intent. You must become addicted to beginning, even when unsure, even when alone. Even when every cell in your body screams for delay, for comfort, for postponement, you begin anyway. Why? Because delay feeds doubt, and doubt is the silent assassin of destiny. He does not kill with violence. He kills with hesitation. So act, not recklessly, but relentlessly. Even a slow march, if unwavering, will outpace the man who sprints in bursts but rests in fear. This is the principle that most will never live by, though they quote it, preach it, admire it in others. But not you. You must become the embodiment of initiative not to prove yourself to the world, but to prove yourself to yourself. And that is the only self that matters. For if you approve of your actions in silence, if you can look in the mirror at midnight and know that you moved today in the direction of your vision, then let the world say what it wants. Let them misunderstand you. Let them laugh. Let them ignore. Because soon, very soon, they will not be able to ignore you. Because a man with personal initiative becomes a storm, unpredictable, inevitable, and utterly sovereign. Now, as we continue to descend deeper into the fortress of the disciplined mind, let us strike at the heart of all self-mastery, the control of attention. Nothing is more precious, nothing is more rare, and nothing is more stolen in our modern age than attention. If your attention is controlled by the world, then your life is owned by it. If your focus can be hijacked by gossip, news, conflict, entertainment, then you are not living, you are being lived. And you will never, I repeat, never build anything of greatness unless you take back control of your own gaze. What you look at, you become. What you dwell on, you feel. What you focus on, you magnify. Therefore, train your attention like a soldier. Wake up and aim it. Shield it from noise. Direct it with force. Do not allow others to dictate your inner climate. Your mind is sacred ground. Let only the seeds you plant grow there. This is not optional. This is life and death for your dreams. If you allow your attention to be fractured, distracted, seduced by triviality, then your power will scatter like leaves in the wind. But if you focus, truly focus, if you go quiet and guard your attention like gold, then everything changes. Because the focused mind is a furnace. It burns through resistance. It dissolves fear. It generates movement without external motivation. But it must be protected, because the thieves of attention are many, and they will wear disguises. They will come as entertainment, as urgency, as drama, as obligation, and you must have the strength, the inner coldness to say, no, I do not attend to what does not advance my mission. This is not cruelty. This is clarity. The clearest minds are not the kindest to all. They are kindest to their purpose. And your attention is the first offering you give to your purpose each day. Do not waste it. Let now the following become law to you. I will guard my attention as I guard my life. I will not be seduced by chaos. I will not chase every conflict. I will not respond to every call. I will direct my focus like a weapon. These are not suggestions. These are survival codes in the battlefield of achievement. Break them, and you become a casualty. Live them, and you become a commander. Now let us speak of something sacred, something so misunderstood that it has been mocked, diluted, commercialized, and stripped of its true power. I am speaking of faith, but not the faith you were sold in slogans, not blind belief in fantasies. I speak of strategic faith, focused faith, the deliberate belief in a future outcome backed by action, discipline, and mental alignment. This is not magical thinking. This is inner congruence, where the mind, emotions, and behavior all serve the same outcome. Faith, when aligned with clarity and discipline, becomes a form of inner certainty. And inner certainty is the most magnetic force on earth. The man who believes in what he builds silently without asking for confirmation becomes irresistible to the very forces that others believe are against them. Doors open for him because he does not seek them, he builds them. Resources appear for him because he does not beg, he prepares. Opportunities gravitate to him because he is not waiting, he is walking. This is what I mean by faith: to act as if the result is already earned. Not because it's easy, but because you are inevitable, because you are prepared to fail silently and continue, because you are prepared to walk alone and smile, because you are prepared to suffer in obscurity and still keep building. This faith is not loud. It is not emotional. It is not desperate. It is strategic. It is precise. It is forged in stillness and proven in movement. And once you have it, no man, no event, no storm can take it from you. Because it was not given to you, you built it, brick by brick, by doing the hard things in silence, by disciplining your thoughts, by going quiet and letting the silence do the work. There comes a moment in every life when the world will wait on your next move, a moment when you will have to choose between comfort and command, between reacting and responding, between fitting in and rising above. And that moment, hear me now, is not tomorrow. It is not next month. It is not when you feel more ready. That moment is now. Because you do not need more time. You need more silence. You do not need more opinions. You need more stillness. You do not need more permission. You need more precision. You do not need more support. You need more standards. You do not need to be understood. You need to become undeniable. And this is what silence teaches you: not to be passive, but to become so potent in your being that your very presence becomes a statement, a force, a frequency that requires no explanation and bows to no judgment. You go quiet not to hide, but to hone. You go quiet not to escape, but to elevate. You go quiet to do the real work, the cutting away of weakness, the crafting of standards, the sharpening of vision, the sculpting of soul. This is what they never told you. They told you to hustle. They told you to grind. They told you to shout, to post, to perform. But they never told you that the loudest move you'll ever make is the one you make without a word. So let this be your new rhythm. Let others chase noise, you chase depth. Let others crave applause, you crave alignment. Let others break at rejection, you break records. Let others lose themselves to emotion, you remain still, and in your stillness you decide. Because decision is destiny. It is not the wish that shapes the man. It is not the dream. It is not the plan. It is the decision to move, to act, to rise, to command the internal world until the external world has no choice but to mirror your power. And when does this decision occur? When you are finally sick enough of your own excuses, when you are finally done outsourcing your power to the unpredictable emotions of others, when you are finally ready to stop reacting to life and start directing it. So decide now in the fire of silence who you are becoming. Not someday, not eventually, now. Decide what kind of man or woman will wake up in your skin tomorrow. Decide what principles will govern your tongue, your hands, your mind, your attention. Decide which distractions you will bury and which standards you will raise like flags over your life. And decide this above all, that from this moment forward, you will not live at the mercy of emotional weather. You will become the architect of atmosphere. You will not fight every battle. You will not explain every move. You will not respond to noise. You will rise in silence. You will win in silence. And one day, when the world finally hears what you've built, it will not be the sound of applause that fulfills you, but the memory of the silence you refused to break. For that silence was not empty. It was the forge. It was the womb of the new self. And in that silence, you were not weak. You were becoming the man who does not flinch when disrespected, becoming the woman who does not beg to be seen, becoming the leader who does not need to convince because the results are undeniable, becoming the presence that speaks volumes without ever raising a voice. This is not poetry. This is prophecy written in the pages of those who build empires from within. And if you would join them, you must make this vow. I will go quiet, not to retreat, but to reign. And when the storms rage and the doubts rise and the fears come knocking, I will not shout. I will not panic. I will not bend. I will go quiet and let the silence do the work.